Hi there, I wrote The Nature of Cannibalism, and I'm starting in like middle chunk here. Totally not a true story. This is after he's broken into a mortuary. Stainless white linoleum stretched from sterile wall to sterile wall. Gleaming steel tables sat motionless in the middle of the room. Matching lockers of considerable size lined the wall. I stood in the doorway for a moment, soaking in the scene. I felt no joy. I felt apprehension. If I didn't go through with my plan, who knows what atrocities I might commit on the living. Here, however, there was no real casualty. No one was going to be hurt. It was a victimless crime. Nobody would notice a minor wound through a layer of tailored suit and plush bedding. I quickly and with businesslike intent advanced toward the matrix of drawers. The first few drawers were fruitless, but the fourth and fifth choice produced the pale treasure I sought. Upon opening the door, I immediately noticed the sickening smell. It wasn't rancid, but rather the chemical stench of preservatives that kept my specimen from rotting. I continued to breathe in short, restrained breaths in an attempt to quell the suffocating aroma. First to emerge from the dark cell were the toes, pale and bloated. The feet followed, with veins and tendons frozen in rigor mortis. From there, his legs protruded, bleached hair coating the thin skin and varicose trails creating a map of black and green across the geography of his calves. His genitals were meek and wrinkled, shriveled by lack of warmth inside and out. His torso, partly covered with gray patches of fur, was plump yet firm, the product, most likely, of a blue-collar lifestyle. His hands were tanned and rough, and his arms were firm. They seemed to me like the arms of a father seen through the eyes of a child, impervious and omnipotent. Finally, his face rolled coldly into view. He looked very much like a grandfather. Something about his face made me see visions of his life he once had. There was a family who loved him and whom he loved back. He worked to feed his loved ones, to keep them alive and well. Now, even in death, he was silent and unmoving, ready to give himself for my selfish needs. A sense of guilt came over me as I removed the scalpel from my bag. Nobody could ever consent to something like this, but perhaps he, in his afterlife, would see fit to forgive my wretched soul. I silently prayed that he would. Removing the plastic cap from the gleaming blade, I held the scalpel firmly in my quivering hands. I looked over his naked body for a spot that looked tempting, but a frozen carcass doesn't present many points of interest. I spied a firm yet tender patch of flesh just below his hip on the side of his rear. With mouth dry and blood hot, I made the incision. Immediately my nostrils were ravaged with the formaldehyde's putrid scent, far more intense than it had been prior. It halted my breath and I turned my head away to regain my senses. My inner humanity begged me to abstain my hand, but my aching stomach pushed me onward. I turned back again to the slice of flesh. I continued sawing into the man's flesh through several layers of pale skin. Sickening fluid slowly seeped out, clear and crawling. I finally reached a different color of meat underneath the dead skin. I licked my lips with the sandpaper tongue. I began to slice more and more greedily until, with a sudden jerk, the resistance gave way. I slowly pulled the brown-white chunk from the body, rotating it slowly in the buzzing blue light of the mortuary. The morsel glistened in a clear marinade as I brought it closer to my quivering lips. And I'll leave it at that.